Welcome to the RadioU Podcast. Coming up, how long is too long to wait for Chick-fil-A?
Draymond Green says the new All-Star Game format is ridiculous.
All that and more on the way next. Allie, did you stay up for any of the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special last night?
I gotta be honest, I didn't. I watched a tad bit of the All-Star Game festivities last night, but as it was heading into the final game for the All-Star thing, because it was like the whole, tournament style, I was like, I can't stay up for this, and so I went to bed.
Okay, well, fortunately, for the both of us and everyone, I stayed up for, I think, all of the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. And it felt like when I was watching it, I was like, well, I mean, this is only going to happen once. There's only one 50th anniversary. You can stay up an hour past your bedtime and I was enjoying it the whole time.
Okay, good.
That is what I was thinking for the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. Is that it was nothing new because it was new sketches, but they were just trotting out the hits,
Yeah.
So it couldn't be considered like one of the great Saturday Night Live episodes of all time.
Right.
Because everything was just, they brought back Debbie Downer and just like, made a new version of Debbie Downer and a new version of Scared Straight and a new, they brought back some of the classic characters from Weekend Update and whatever. So none of it was like, and most of it wasn't truly new.
Yeah.
But if you are an SNL fan, these are like the sketches from throughout the 50 years that made SNL what it was. And so you were just smiling the whole time if you're a big fan of Saturday Night Live.
Sounds very like nostalgic and, playing off of those, like you said, the skits that we all either grew up watching or just have loved throughout the years where, because I think it was on Friday we mentioned like, oh, what's your favorite SNL skit? And we just kept naming them even after we were off the air because it's just like there's so many that you remember and you call back to and you reference in conversation. Something will come up and you're like, oh, yeah, here's the Debbie Downer joke or here's this joke. So, yeah, I like that they played on nostalgia because I could tell they were going to do that because they brought back so many of the former cast members, too.
I mean, of course, it would have been wild for them to just write entirely new sketches with introduce new characters.
Right.
And you'd be like, I don't because in your mind, you'd probably be going, was this like from a season I never watched or something like that? I don't remember Eddie Murphy doing this. But I was curious about that, though, because you get all these people coming back, Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy and David Spade. And but some of them are redoing the characters that they did. I mean, now, what are we talking about? 30, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Obviously up to 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're thinking do they really want to keep doing the same character? Or are they kind of tired of, like Mike Myers came back as the lady who says, I'm getting all verklempt. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know if I remember that one.
That's an old one from the 90s.
Okay.
But this character that, does Mike Myers, is he excited to trot that character back out again?
I'm sure he was happy to be back and doing that. One question I have for you, Hudson. Did they bring back the Gap Girls sketch?
Which one is that?
That's the one with David Spade and Adam Sandler. They probably didn't bring it back because Chris Farley is also in it, so they probably didn't want to do it. And,
they did not
recast Chris Farley because you can't do that. I
could try to go through because I watched basically the whole thing and try to re-list all of them, but I mean, you know what? That's on you. You should have just watched it. So I'm not going to do that.
It wasn't Saturday night, so I kind of forgot it was happening.
I was disappointed. Obviously, you go through and there's this whole cavalcade of stars, and then you're just disappointed about who's not there or who didn't get included in the actual show. I don't think Chevy Chase was there, but he didn't say anything. He wasn't on. But the weird one was Bill Hader. It's like, is he the Saturday Night Live designated survivor? Because he wasn't there. Oh. So we got no Stefan, which was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
And Bill Hader did some of my favorite characters on Saturday Night, one of my favorite cast members of all time. So that was disappointing.
Yeah.
Also, the music, very good. Paul Simon. It kicked off with Paul Simon and Sabrina Carpenter. Paul Simon refuses to be seen with a woman shorter than him. He just cannot do it. He can't. Even Sabrina Carpenter. They bring out shorter and shorter women, and Paul Simon's like, no, I must be the shortest. I must. But that was a good way to tie the past to the modern day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they did the entire time, which I appreciated. Allie, over the weekend was NBA All-Star Weekend. There was all kinds of festivities, and I know you put in the work to watch so much of it. So tell us, what were the headlines, the biggest headlines from the NBA All-Star Weekend?
I felt like so Friday night started it all off with the Rising Stars tournament. I felt like that was another success again because these are the young, hungry players, some of them even from the G League. So they're also looking for opportunities to play in the regular NBA. So I felt like that was a continued success. You know, they were fighting for it and clearly wanted to win. And so I feel like if you enjoy watching these young stars, especially if they're from your team or your G League affiliate team, then you are excited to see them play.
And so that's when everything peaked on Friday night.
I wouldn't say that's when everything peaked, but Saturday I did feel like they had some controversy and some fun. Controversy in that there was some controversy with the skills challenge, which I think we're going to talk about later. And then also they had some fun with obviously the dunk contest, which ended Saturday night's like activities and whatnot. And they also had the 3-point contest, which was fun, but I felt like not as fun this year for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they didn't have the special Steph Curry versus Sabrina thing. But overall, I think it was because a lot of people anticipated Damian Lillard to do really well. He did not do well at all. And so you just had a lot of players that were not as well known doing better in it. I think Buddy Hield won, which he's a great 3-point shooter.
I was Tyler Hero.
Oh, Tyler Hero won.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
He did.
Well, Buddy Hield did really well in the first round and the second round. But, okay. Well, Tyler Hero has actually, I think, won that before or participated. But
my memory of NBA skills competitions lasts one weekend. By the time this time next week, I'll have forgotten.
You have forgotten.
And I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, well, I turned it off because I was just like, this is just kind of getting a little boring, a little redundant here. And so I did not even see that.
No, if they lost you.
Yeah.
Not good.
Didn't watch it. And so I just was in the middle of something else. And so didn't see the end of that. So didn't get to see Tyler Hero win. But was disappointed to see that Damian Lillard did not perform as well because they really were hyping that up. But that's how things go. You can't plan this stuff. You never know how someone's going to show up and shoot. So
well, at least you know it's not rigged.
Yeah, that's
like the NFL.
Exactly. And it was funny because they followed it up on Sunday with bringing Damian Lillard back for a 3-point thing with Mr. Beast, where it was like, if this random guy can hit a 3 before Damian Lillard, he can win $100,000.
That was it?
Yeah. If Damian Lillard hits it, then this $100,000 goes to charity. And I feel like Damian Lillard, I mean, he had a bad 3-point shooting night on Saturday, but I felt like he was purposely missing so that this guy could get as many opportunities as he wanted. It's
like Damian Lillard's practicing to fight one of the Paul brothers one day.
Yeah. So it was overall a little bit of a miss with that, I felt. So yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on things. There was things I liked, things I thought were hilarious, like the controversy with the skills challenge. And then the thing that I thought stood out the most was that this new format of the All-Star game with the tournament, like the regular All-Star game, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, nothing seems to work with All-Star stuff in the NBA.
No, it just didn't work. And I really did agree with Draymond Green was on the TNT show during the All-Star game on Sunday, and he was ripping it. I mean, I watched him live on there, and he was just absolutely tearing into it. Because first of all,
which is not good that he's doing that on the actual broadcast of the game. And he's also an employee of the league.
Exactly.
He plays for one of the teams in the league.
But he clearly doesn't care. He's just going to say what he wants, which is kind of what you get with Draymond. So I understand. But he was ripping into it and I think I agree with most of what he said. You know, a lot of players work so hard to be all-stars. They also are interested in, potentially breaking some of the All-Star game scoring records. You know, you're talking about Kobe Bryant. You're talking about some of the greatest players ever that hold these records. And now you're stealing away opportunities for these these players to do that because you want them to play in this new tournament with an Elam ending where they can only score 40 points in a game, and you're clearly not going to have one player do that in the entire game. And so it just changes the whole aspect of it, and it really kind of does downgrade some of the potential history that could happen during the All-Star game. I understand that it's broken. They're trying to fix it with like the lack of defense and the lack of effort that we've seen over the past few years. But it just overall felt like a miss. LeBron James didn't participate, so I think he was upset with it. So overall, I just felt like it didn't work, and I would not be surprised if it's not back.
Well, I feel like in some ways we've already given way too much attention to the NBA All-Star Game, but I do want to hear about the controversy.
There was.
So explain.
There was. Okay, so I tuned in for this. I usually don't watch the Skills Challenge, but the Cavaliers had a team participating in it with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. So I was like, I'll just tune in to watch and see how they do. And the first team out was from the Spurs. It was Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama teamed up together in the Skills Challenge.
Nice.
And what you have to do is like you have to run through this little like obstacle course kind of thing where you have to show off your skills in passing. At one point you have to like pass the ball, but you have to like hit it on the floor first, so it's not
bounce
just a
pass.
Yeah, bounce pass. And then you also have to like get not a free throw, but just like a layup, a three-pointer, and then a three-pointer with like this windmill thing in front of you. And so, yeah, it's just like a little obstacle course. And so you have to run it, and it's a timed thing.
Okay.
So it's about getting through it quickly.
Yeah.
And so they're the first team out. No one else has gone.
Yeah.
And they go out there, and they run it so fast. And the reason is because they throw away all of their shots. They don't even make one attempt to try and actually really hit the rim. Yeah. They're just tossing the ball off the little rack beside where they're supposed to shoot from.
Yeah.
And so they run it in like 46 seconds or something like that.
Is that a new record?
Usually it's about a minute of time.
Yeah, all right, good for them.
Well, not good for them because actually it was illegal for them to do this. They had to make at least 2 valid attempts at a shot. And because what you're supposed to do is like if you make the shot, you can move on to the next thing. Okay. But if you don't make the shot, all you got to do is hit, throw all 3 balls, that is on this little rack. Yeah. And so all they did was they just toss, and then they just kept moving. And so they didn't even care to try and throw it at the rim or try and make an actual legitimate three-pointer. The crowd absolutely obliterated them. They were booing incessantly because it's like, this is a skills challenge.
And they wanted to win.
Well, you're showing us no skill in this. All you're showing us is a skill to be pretty sneaky. And the other teams were like looking at each other. The announcers all like, wait, what are they doing here? They're gaming the system. The other teams are like, should we do this too? And then an NBA official came out and was like, you guys are disqualified because you're not allowed to do this. You have to you have to
disqualified.
Yeah, you had to make actual valid attempts at shooting the basketball.
They did.
They did not, Hudson. They tossed it off the little.
Who are you to say?
Victor Wembanyama is 7'5". He didn't even need to try that hard.
He's a pro NBA player. I think he knows how to shoot a basketball.
Well, he wasn't.
And who are we to judge?
He was not shooting it very well.
Listen, actually, you know what? You know who deserves this? Me, because I'm getting upset on their behalf, and it's an NBA All-Star skills competition, so I'm just going to slide back into the bushes like Homer Simpson because I do not care.
Yeah, I mean, overall, obviously doesn't mean too much, but it was funny to me in the moment watching it because you saw the panic set in on the broadcasters' faces and on the other team's faces, like, oh no, did they just absolutely break the skills challenge? Are we just going to watch a bunch of NBA players toss the ball onto the floor, see them make actual no skilled attempt at a three-pointer in the skills challenge?
Couldn't they just actually make the rule that you have to make a shot from each spot? I mean, that would actually make more sense. Otherwise, what's even the point?
Well, yeah.
Attempting a shot is not a skill.
But
anyone can attempt a shot.
Right, but they want a valid attempt. So they want you to actually try and shoot it at the rim, not trying to shoot it in the sideline,
I don't like this. I'm not going to waste any time being upset about it, but I think they should have won.
No.
I think I always say work smart, not hard. It sounds like they were working smart, and the skills competition is too dumb for them. Time for our Monday tradition, the box office breakdown, looking at what made money and what didn't in theaters. If you saw anything recently, let us know at 8772 RadioU, particularly if you saw Captain America Brave New World, because it seems like a lot of people did. Despite fairly neutral to lukewarm at best reviews, right, for Captain America Brave New World, it still wound up making $100 million this weekend already. If you include the President's Day numbers, it will continue to go up. Believe it or not, the biggest opening weekend for any Captain America movie.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously, again, despite the reviews, the people are speaking with their pocketbooks, their wallets.
What did does it give the other numbers? I was going to say, what did Civil War open at?
Compared to, let's see, the first Avenger was 65. Winter Soldier is 95, possibly the best Marvel movie. And then Civil War was 179 million. Now we're talking, that's total internationally, where this one made 192 million internationally already.
Oh, in the first weekend.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So they're counting the international numbers
if
as well.
If you count international, this is the biggest. I'm sure, like usually it's the same. Like the numbers are different, but the stats are the same.
Right.
So either way, a very successful opening weekend for Captain America.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I didn't go see it yet, but that is definitely on the to-do list. Now, number 2 is Paddington in Peru. I feel like this is really not quite the opening they were expecting. It only made $16 million in North America. But if you got to see that, let us know. 8772 RadioU. That may have had much better reviews than Captain America did.
It definitely did.
But I'm sure that's the type of thing that, maybe in the UK, overseas, that's probably the international numbers maybe even better for that.
Can I be honest, though? I didn't even know Paddington 3 was coming out.
We talked about it in the weekend watch list. That's why we do this.
But before it was, before we talked about it, I had not seen anything about it. So I think that might be the case for a lot of people.
Yeah. Meanwhile, with Captain America, you've probably known about it for like 2 years. At this point.
We kept seeing trailers for it all the time.
Seen the Red Hulk so many times. Number 3 was Dogman, which this is not great for Paddington because Dogman, number 3, it's been in movie theaters for 3 weeks and it still made $12 million. So it almost caught Paddington for number 2.
Yeah.
Allie, what's the last thing you watched?
I actually watched quite a bit over the weekend because I stayed home Saturday all day. It was a lazy Saturday. We'll just say that. But Friday.
So you watched the Chronicles of Narnia.
No, Friday night I did watch Mamma Mia. We were talking about like good Valentine's Day movies, and you mentioned maybe a musical would be good. And I was just scrolling through Max, and they had Mamma Mia on there, so I ended up turning that on, which is a fun film. And then I watched on Saturday Cobra Kai, the latest season of that.
Oh yeah,
so got caught up.
The final season. They say.
Final season.
And you finished it.
Yes.
Wow. And is it worth all the excitement? Is it a fitting end?
I thought it was fun. I have felt, I have had mixed feelings on the different seasons of it. I absolutely adored season 1 of Cobra Kai. I'm a huge fan of like the original Karate Kid film, so I loved the concept of Cobra Kai. Mm-hmm. But I felt like there were certain times where the show definitely divulged into more of what I would consider like Disney territory.
Oh yeah.
Where I was like, this feels a little more like kid drama than like an adult show, which definitely the first season felt more like that. But overall, I feel like it's a pretty decent watch.
Yeah, I should get around to that. The last thing I watched is a movie called Nickel Boys, which is up for, it's one of the Oscar movies. It's up for Best Picture. It's not going to win. It is a strange movie because it is shot in first person.
Oh.
Which is obviously a very creative way of doing things.
Yeah.
But probably not the best. I thought it made it kind of difficult to track with it. But like it was still an interesting movie. It's definitely a big downer of a movie too. It's about a guy, it's a black boy who is like doing well in school and whatever. At some point when he's growing up, he hitchhikes, he's taking a ride and he winds up riding with a guy who stole a car that he didn't know. And then, but because it's the South and it's the 60s or whatever, he gets he's as an accomplice to the stealing of the car, even though he had no idea about it. Goes to a reform school. The reform school treats black students black boys way different than the white boys, and so it's sad and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's not exactly a happy movie.
It doesn't sound like it.
Obviously, it has important things to say, but the creative side of it is that it's shot in first person, which I don't know that I enjoy. So
yeah, seems like it'd be hard to follow and also like potentially dizzying. That's how I view first person sometimes.
Yeah, I think there's probably a good reason that most movies aren't made. Like almost none. You think about all the movies that have been made.
Yeah.
How few are shot in first person. That's probably for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you watched this weekend. 8772-RADIO-U. Should the government be able to limit how many items you have in the self-checkout line? That is what the state of Washington, at least one lawmaker in the state of Washington, would like to do. A bill has been proposed in the state of Washington that would limit people to, if you had to make a limit, how many would it be?
I'd say like 15 or 20 items.
It would be 15 items.
Yeah.
Now, I think with the rest of the context of the law, it's not just like, there's too many people coming with 20 items. There's other things, because this lawmaker in Washington also wants to assure that there always must be a manned checkout as well.
Yep, that's key.
Self-checkout employees that man the self-checkouts can be limited to only 2 self-checkouts, and that has to be all they're doing. They can't have some other role as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Which would be, I feel, difficult to enforce.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that is what this lawmaker in the state of Washington proposes. 15 item limit. You have to go to a person if you've got more than 15 items. There always has to be at least one person manning a lane, and there has to be a person only manning self-checkouts, and they can only manage 2 at a time. How does this all sound to you, Allie? Before I get to some of these texts.
This sounds fine to me. I'm absolutely okay with it because we used to have fast checkout lanes, if you remember, where it was like, 10 items or less or 20 items or less in like Walmarts. I remember that. And this was before self-checkout was a thing. But when self-checkout first came around, I feel like we all believed that it was something that was supposed to be like really quick. Like you just had a couple of items, you're just going to scan them real fast. You didn't want to wait in line to scan these items behind somebody that has a full cart of groceries. Now, and I think it's partly because we've been forced into it. I don't think it's really, the public's fault too much. But now it has been turned into a thing where everybody just takes their massive cart of groceries to the self-checkout. But again, I feel like it's partly because they don't have regular checkouts open anymore, and so it's just like you're kind of forced into having to take it over.
Also, you'll see a line for the maybe 1 or 2 real checkouts that are open.
Yeah.
And those lines are long, and it's a bunch of people with a bunch of groceries because they don't want to go in the self-checkout, which makes sense.
Sure.
But then you're like, well, should I take my 30 groceries in the self-checkout lane, or should I wait forever in the person checkout lane?
Right.
Behind a bunch of other people with even more groceries than me. Jamie says, maybe not a limit on items, but people should be self-aware and not go to a self-checkout with a full cart of groceries. Now, if there's no lanes open like we're talking about, then it's understandable. But if there are lanes open and you've got more than 15, or she just says, if you've got enough items, you should be self-aware enough to go and just wait in line, which I do think is true. Like you might think that everybody thinks they're in a hurry.
Yeah.
But if you're doing your whole grocery shop for the week or whatever anyways, if you blocked out time, you can also wait in line to be able to go through a person checkout.
Especially if the grocery store is busy and you see that the self-checkout line is busy as well, then you probably shouldn't clog it up by bringing your cart that's like stacked full of like all sorts of stuff to the self-checkout. Like that's just going to clog up one of those checkout counters for the whole time that you need to use it for. So I also feel like it'd be really hard for you to do that in a way, at least at Kroger, that isn't going to have the attendant have to come over and help you multiple times, because if you have to fill up multiple bags on, you know, the little spin wheel bag thing that they have, it gets a little precarious.
And then remove them, and you're trying, like, if you really have a lot, which I've had this happen to me before, you have to like swap out the bags because you don't have enough room to bag anymore.
Right.
Put them in the cart, and then it's, you know, freaking out about the weights and whatever because it's weighing everything. And even if, like at my Kroger, there is the self-checkout lanes that have the belt that goes down, which allows you to scan more, except that belt is notorious for not working exactly properly because it'll think you didn't place something on, or there's too many things on the belt at once. It wants to slow you down. And you'll still get stacked up at the end if you're just one individual. Right. So
I hate that thing, that belt one, because it's like no one is standing at the end to help you.
Yeah,
to
sometimes
like bag
there's an
your
employee,
stuff.
but
sometimes there is, but very rarely, at least in my experience, has there been. And so it's just like you get to the end and like now you got to bag up all this stuff that's just all crumpled together. So it's just a mess.
I don't know if we've solved anything, or like I don't even know if we have an opinion on this law. I just think we've complained about self-checkouts. But I like self-checkouts. I just don't like the circumstances.
They have a purpose, but we need to have both. We need to have both a man checkout and a self-checkout. And you have to be self-aware enough to know like when to use which one.
Love them or leave them here on RadioU Mornings. Whenever you've got a relationship issue you need help sorting out, guess who's here? Allie, myself, and the rest of the RadioU listeners that are ready to offer helpful advice. So 8772-RADIO-U. Get it ready to chime in on this one, which of course revolves around Valentine's Day. We have a gal who says, my boyfriend decided he wanted to do something special for Valentine's. He decided to transform one of my sweaters to make it nicer, but he did this in secret. He chose a specific one that I loved, and that was 100% cashmere.
Oh, no.
If you don't know, this is quite an expensive material. I mean, yeah. One of his ideas for Valentine's was to transform the sweater to make it extra nice. He added some fur things to the sleeves, but he can't sew, so he just glued it there.
Oh, no.
I personally really don't like it. It's not my style at all, and I feel like I will just not use it. I know this came from a very sweet place in his heart, though, that he wanted it to be something he makes for me and to make it extra nice. But I'm quite mad because it was not just an expensive sweater. It was also one of my favorites. And now it is ruined.
Oh.
He gave it to me and it took all my self-control not to explode at him. But he really tried to be sweet. The first thing he said was, if you don't like it, I'll buy you a new one.
Okay.
And the one that is exact same as this one. But he is clueless about how much it would cost. I want to have a conversation about this, but I don't really know how to go about it. I feel like a mix of, why would you permanently alter one of my personal belongings without my permission? And it was sweet that you wanted to make something for me. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but this kind of thing is, it's kind of eating on me inside. Aww. I really don't know how to bring it up, and I don't know the right things to say. How do I talk to him? 8772-RADIO-U. Your boyfriend ruined your expensive favorite sweater, but he was trying to make it nicer. How do you talk to him? 8772-RADIO-U. We definitely need some help here. I feel like Allie's going to have some good things to say.
I have some thoughts.
Okay. And we'll see what everyone else has to say, too. Some good advice at 8772-RADIO-U. We did hear from Aurora, who says, first of all, cool off a bit, then calmly explain why you appreciate the thought that he shouldn't do that again. Okay. We also heard from Heather, who simply says, just tell him the price and website to buy a new one, or you're going to wind up resenting it.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll also say Bree, who says the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Basically say, hey, I'm upset because you ruined one of my favorite belongings. The cost to get a new one is this much.
Yep.
It was very expensive and sentimental to me, and you need to fix this. Please don't do this again. Take it to a tailor or dry cleaner. If it's glue, they might be able to fix it.
That's true.
She also says, but I am stuck on the fact that he decided to go for a fashion DIY when he's clueless about fashion and cannot sew. Uncharitably, he did it to be a cheap person who is rude. Charitably, he is basically not very smart.
Yeah, it's overall not a great look. I mean, anytime someone does something for a significant other, I don't want to be like, wow, what an idiot. You know,
Yeah.
It's like clearly he had some good intention in wanting to make something special for his girlfriend. It just wasn't very well thought out and not very well planned. And I think a great way to explain this to him, if you're worried about hurting his feelings, is just ask him, hey, is there something that you really cherish? Let's say it's a sports jersey for your favorite team. What if I took it and added some crazy bedazzling to like the name or the number? Would you appreciate that? And I guarantee you his answer is probably going to be no. I want the jersey to remain as it is. You know, I want it to look like the guy that I, or the person that I like, that I'm cheering for. So no, I wouldn't appreciate that. Maybe if you bought me a new one and did something like that, that'd be okay. But this one, I want it to stay the same. I cherish this thing. So maybe bring an example to him of something of his so that he can kind of see from your perspective why this was a pretty bad idea.
Yeah. It's this alone, if we're just going strictly love him or leave him, this is still a love him because I think we hope he was trying to be nice and it wasn't like he forgot about Valentine's Day and panicked and this is the best thing he could come up with.
Right.
Or, he just couldn't afford to do anything else because it does seem like if he was really being thoughtful, he would have at least like taken it to somebody that, could do something that knows how to do something with it. But I don't know. So I do feel like if you can't have this conversation with him though, then it is a leave. If you're not comfortable enough, or if you're going to go into this conversation and he's not going to be able to handle it,
right? Then
that is a leave.
That's a bad red flag sign if he can't handle you telling him, hey, I didn't appreciate you messing up my favorite sweater.
But Ali's approach of the example that is something from his world, whether it's video games or maybe Legos or a sports jersey, whatever, like use that. That's smart. I'm going to open up the RadioU hotline here.
877-2-RADIO-U.
The question is, how long is it worth waiting in line to try Chick-fil-A for the very first time?
Oh.
Here's the context. We heard from Jim, who texted in at 877-2-RADIO-U saying, hey guys, I live in Saginaw, Michigan, where they just opened up a brand new Chick-fil-A on Friday.
Nice.
Me and my wife are curious to try it, but the lines have been crazy long. I know everybody seems to be, obviously, he means like there, but also generally people seem to be crazy about Chick-fil-A. But I'm wondering if it's so good that it's worth waiting for. And so or if I should wait till the hype dies down. He sent a video of how long the lines are. I would guess it looks like about a mile on the road. And that is just to get into the shopping center that the Chick-fil-A is in.
Oh my goodness.
So listen, straight up, Jim, no food is worth waiting that long for. Now, Chick-fil-A, if you don't know this, right, Ali, to Jim, Chick-fil-A will cycle through that line faster than any other fast food place you could possibly imagine.
That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking, well, it's worth it because Chick-fil-A will be quite quick. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was a mile long, but
I think it's it has to be at least a mile just to get into the shopping center.
That's insane, but also makes sense. I mean, it's Chick-fil-A.
It's brand new Chick-fil-A.
It's a brand new Chick-fil-A.
If it came to your town for the first time, I think it would
happen anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And
some Chick-fil-A's are like that all the time. After they've been there for years.
That's what I was thinking too when you mentioned Jim's comment, because I was like, well, here's the thing. I live in a pretty highly populated Columbus suburb area, and anytime I go to Chick-fil-A, it's always busy. There's always a long line, but like you said, they get through that line quite quickly. And so even though you're pulling up and you're thinking, I'm going to be here for a while, that's never how it is with Chick-fil-A. They have the most efficiently run checkout, and drive-through process of any of the fast food restaurants. So they're more efficient than sometimes even if you pull up to like a different drive-through and there's only a couple of cars and it may still take you longer to get food there.
If you wind up at Steak and Shake, 2 cars at Steak and Shake could take the equivalent of 40 cars at Chick-fil-A sometimes.
Yeah.
Aurora has a hack. She just says either wait till the hype dies down or order delivery. That could be your little way around.
Yeah.
If you still want to try it.
Or go inside.
I mean, just to get when the line is this long, though, just
true.
to get it. That's why I was going to say order online and park there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're still going to be waiting just to be able to, unless you want to walk to it.
Oh, I mean, you could.
Which is another idea, but not in this weather, probably. In
probably
Saginaw,
not.
this time of year.
Yeah, in Michigan, not too pleasant, I suppose. But yeah, I have done that before where if like the line looks super long, I'll go inside and you get food almost right away.
The one thing though at Chick-fil-A too is that at least when the line is this long, you can mentally prepare yourself to wait. Because I had an experience at Popeyes recently where I ordered online, there was nobody else around. I get into the drive-through line. There was literally me and 2 other cars, and somehow I wound up almost there for 30 minutes.
That's crazy.
And so then you're getting upset, and I might wait 30 minutes for Popeyes because I like it that much, but not when I thought I was only going to be waiting 5.
That's insane.
Over the weekend, while LeBron James was sitting out of the NBA All-Star game because of discomfort, the NHL had its Four Nations face-off, and the players were getting into fights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was amazing. I think it has to be said that this was a great moment for the NHL. The United States versus Canada played a game on Saturday that kicked off literally within the first 10 seconds with a fight, 3 fights simultaneously on the ice. It was the Tkachuk brothers from the United States team, Brady and Matthew, along with JT Miller, that planned these fights. They said they wanted to send a message. So they had a group chat going during the day leading up to the game, saying that where they planned out that they were going to do that. I don't know how much plan. Should we fight Canada? Yes, let's fight Canada.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yeah.
But they said they wanted to send a message. The message they wanted to send is, it's our time. And not only did they send a message with the fights, but I think that set the tone for the game. And the United States did wind up beating Canada 3-1.
Yeah.
Which guarantees the United States a spot in the championship game for the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, I would say, for hockey to have such a viral moment immediately as soon as the game starts. So, yeah, it was crazy because I was sharing with you off the air. When you watch what happened, it happened so quickly. I can't remember if it's Brady or Matthew that kicks off first, but one of the Tkachuk brothers kicks off first. And they have this thing called a ref cam in hockey.
Yeah.
And so they have...
Which is a great addition.
Sure, yeah. So they have the ref cam shot live, and they're showing you the face-off, and the ref like throws the puck, and then they go to the far away cam that's showing you the whole the whole. What am I trying to look
rink?
for here? The whole rink, yeah. And at that point, already the guy has his gloves on the ice and his stick on the ice. And you're like, what's happening? He already threw his gloves off, threw his mask off, and starts fighting. I can't even remember who he fights with. Is it Hagel or he fights with one of the guys from Canada. And it just kicks off like that. Like, you have no idea what's happening. It was pure chaos. But let me tell you, the fans were loving it.
Yeah, and this was a big deal too because the game was in Canada.
Yeah.
So you do kind of run the risk of riling the fans up even more. But hey, the United States beat Canada in Canada. And now they get a gold medal, the championship game coming up later this week, where we don't know who they'll face yet. That'll be determined today. It could be Canada again.
Yeah.
Which will obviously be a revenge spot for Canada if they get in, but it'll also be on the United States home ice on our soil here in Boston. So
secretly hoping it is Canada.
I mean, that'd be much more fun than Sweden or Finland, for sure.
I mean, as much as we love...
The United States already whooped up on Finland, too.
Yeah, so. Right. As much as we love the Swedes and the Finnish, like, just for the iconicness alone of this first game, you're like, yep, we want round 2, please.
The spectacle of it, yeah. And this is why, by the way, NHL players should have been at the Winter Olympics all these years. They haven't been in a long time because, like, this is real, like, national pride. Canada thinks they own hockey, and they usually have.
Right.
But the United States, we've got a lot of good players on our team here. So
yeah, they're saying it's our time. And, we got a lot of young bloods out there that are, wanting to show their prowess in the game or whatever. And so I guess I don't approve of fighting or brawling or whatever, but I tip the cap to them.
It's a part of the game.
It's a part of the game for hockey for sure, and they want to prove something. And not only, like you said, did they prove it with the fighting, but they won the game, so you can't be mad.
Love it. Happy President's Day. Hope you take advantage of some good sales today. Maybe get a mattress or something.
Maybe.
I heard there's some car blowouts that might be happening too if you go to the right dealership. Something I was thinking about kind of related to that over the weekend, Allie, is advertisers think we're stupid. And they might be right about me. But they think we're all stupid. Yeah. They think that they can just put, get your favorite podcaster to say their name or sponsor an NBA dunk contest, and we're stupid enough that we're going to be like, Starry, all right, I guess I'll try it. Or I haven't bought that in a while. And you know what? It works, doesn't it?
It actually does. It actually does.
At least enough for them to keep doing it.
Because it's less about, influencing for sure is a part of it. But I also think the reason they do that with like sponsoring a dunk contest or whatever is they just want you to be they just want their brand to be in your mind. Yeah. For when you show up to the store and you're ready to grab a snack or a drink or something and you're like, what have I been thinking about lately? Yeah. I guess Starry, because I just watched the dunk contest. Yeah. I don't know if that always works for everyone. And I think it's probably more subconscious than we realize. So even though we may be saying to ourselves, that doesn't impact me. I know. It actually probably does.
It does. They keep doing it. And we keep falling for it because in some ways we are very stupid. We're just as stupid as they think we are. But here's your chance to be smart, because here's what I know. If you start a relationship with God, when you have Jesus in your life, and this is scary, but he will show you how many things in your life that you think you need, that the advertisers or whoever convinced you need this to be happy. You need this, you need to have this, do this, go have whatever. To be happy or to add something to your life, he will show you that, you actually don't need that much. You need much less than you actually think to be happy. You really don't need much at all to be happy with what you have. Now, that is scary, but it's also so freeing, isn't it? Think about how much money we can save and think about how much of a more fulfilled life we can live if we stop going by what the advertisers and influencers tell us we need and instead go by what Jesus tells us we need.
Yeah, absolutely. If we allow ourselves to be, de-influenced, as that's kind of a new trend right now, from thinking that we need all of this stuff and realize like our only needs in life are quite simple rather, and we don't need these things that are being promoted to us all the time. We may want them, but we don't need them. And yeah, that's a key difference there. And so if we kind of accept that, our lives would be better.
Yeah. So the challenge to you today is to not be stupid. Stop falling for what the advertisers say. You know what? We're still going to fall for it.
Yeah,
we're still going to fall for it sometimes because unless you only listen to Radio U and never do anything else, you're going to see ads. Even if you pay for the ad-free tier, even if you have an ad blocker, you're just always going to have somebody trying to sell you something. Yeah. That's how it's going to work. But it may not work on you quite as much when you can lean on God for the stuff that you truly actually need, and you can trust him for that. And the other stuff will just wind up being gravy. And you can go from there. You can start talking to God and say, hey, Jesus, I want to know more about what that kind of life is like. And he'll show you. You can also go to radiou.com/free gift. I don't know if you saw this, Allie, on your Instagram, but it seems that they are testing out on Instagram the ability now to dislike you can thumbs down comments on Instagram. At least that's something that's rolling out for some users. You can follow us, by the way, on Instagram and not dislike any of our comments at Radio U Mornings. Have you seen this, Allie? And even whether you have or not, how do you feel about it?
I have not seen this. So from what I can tell, it's not a dislike, but it's actually a downvote, like an arrow pointing down. So kind of similar to Reddit, where you're pushing something down because you don't think it's very relevant or you just don't like it, don't agree with it or whatever. Yeah. So it's a little different from a dislike. That's from what I can tell.
I think that, they mean the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
essentially the same thing. You're disliking it. You don't want to see it anymore.
I don't know. It doesn't look like they show, I think, and this is important to me anyways, that they don't show the count of how many dislikes something has.
Yes.
But people still are using this as this is, you're going to be used for bullying or whatever. And to me, I don't feel like that's right.
I
don't think bullying is right, but I also don't think this is going to be used for bullying.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That just shows you, I don't want to say this in a mean way, but it's like almost how soft like our culture has become, where it's like, oh my gosh, people can downvote my comment. They're going to bully me, blah, blah, blah. It's like people have been nasty on the internet for years. Yeah. Just Instagram adding a downvote doesn't change that or make that any worse than already what it was before. People are going to disagree with your comments all the time. In fact, this gives them a way to disagree with your comment in a less negative way.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving you a nasty comment back, now all they have to do is just downvote it, which means they see it less. It doesn't mean that everyone overall sees it less. They haven't even rolled out the ability for it to actually change where your comment is seen. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like people are just overreacting, and it's just a little bit much, in my opinion, to be like, bullying is back. And blah, blah, blah. First of all, bullying never went away. But I just think to take it to that extreme, it's okay, you need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, this apparently will be controversial, but I love this idea. I think we do need a downvote button for everything. And it doesn't even say it's literally, this seems to be for each user individually.
Yeah.
I
don't think you'll be notified that someone's downvoting.
Yeah. And I don't even think it affects how the comments would show generally. It only shows to what kind of comments to you.
Yeah.
But I also do think it would be helpful because Meta recently announced they're kind of changing their moderation stuff where they're not going to be pulling stuff down, which if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But then it gives you the way of, if you think this is a wrong thing to say, you can downvote it yourself. And if it did spread to where the comments in general and not just the comments that you would see, I don't think that'd be so bad either.
It's true. Overall, social media is so messed up. I recently deleted some social media from my phone because I was just I'm over seeing all of the political stuff and everything. And all this sounds to me, it's we're going to continue to tailor our feed more and more to what we believe, what we think. We don't want to see anybody else's opinion. We don't want to talk to one another. And so it just depresses me overall. Again, I don't agree with the softness of complaining that this is the worst thing ever and it's going to ruin your mental health. If social media is ruining your mental health, then you need to get off of it.
This isn't going to be the thing that breaks the back.
Right. This shouldn't be, you shouldn't be blaming other users for that, even though that could be a contributing factor. But yeah, this is just more me on social media. And it's it's annoying.
If you're afraid of your comments getting disliked too, maybe you're just making bad comments. Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.